Does everybody see it? Perfect. All right, as we get closer to the end, these presentations are getting smaller and smaller. And I'll be eliminating animations, which is very sad, but it's just the bullet points. All right, so there's been a lot of activity, so now I'm just focusing on the actions taken from last time to now. The big one was the core upgrade. So we've actually upgraded the core to be at the latest and greatest software release. And I have an asterisk there because this was so much more than just an upgrade. It was a major event. We actually installed new cores and then upgraded all the hardware. We physically moved stuff between two shelters. We had to coordinate with system users because system is actively being used. Westcom, Woodbury, and a whole bunch of different dispatch centers as well, including state assets, local assets, city assets, and whatnot. So there was a lot of coordination. We set up a bridge where we opened up the bridge and let everybody call in, and we sort of did a countdown to confirm that there was no active incidents because we were going to, in essence, interrupt service to be able to do this. So this upgrade was unique in that it wasn't just an upgrade. There was a lot of cleanup work. There was confirmation that the paths are connecting to the right destinations. There was a lot of remapping that took place. So it was a huge event. We had a lot of people working in 3 core locations. We couldn't quite fit inside the shelters because there were so many of us, so we kind of stand outside. It didn't rain, which was great. So definitely a major milestone, which kind of gets minimized because, well, we just call it a core upgrade. All right, so after we completed that, we did the software push, which means that after we deal with everything related to the core, then we push new software to all the RF sites. Again, that was a coordinated event from the technical perspective in order to get it at the right time. You push it, you verify, you confirm it comes up. So a lot of effort in doing the software upgrades to the sites as well. We completed some additional logging integration. We had a restore service to all the loggers. Again, there's many dispatch centers that are connected to ISICS right now. So they use their logging recorders are attached to it. So we had to, as part of that, restart some of the processes and whatnot to make sure that everybody was logging correctly. So now, all the dispatches, all the dispatch centers are able to use all the conventionals that they have attached to their dispatch centers, as well as the trunk resources. Not everybody uses them, right? Because we don't have a accepted system yet, but other locals do use them. So again, big task. Another aspect of the actions that we took was that we exercised what we call the dynamic system resiliency, which is the ability of the system to survive a catastrophic event. We, in essence, we forced a switch over. So once we completed the upgrade, we switched everybody over to the backup core, which is dynamically in a totally different area of the state. We did some additional testing and some cleanup work as well, and then we switched everybody back. And then by accident, we stumbled across something that caused a power outage, which ended up having the system revert back to the backup core, so it kind of tests itself in the process. We had a lot of people working, a lot of folks doing many things at the same time, so that was just an oversight in our part that we ended up killing power to some of the core equipment, which basically forced the system to take over. It took us a couple of minutes to realize what had happened, but then we realized, oh, okay, worked, great. So that was another aspect of that, and then we released the database as of Monday. The database release was another milestone, a significant milestone, but it went a little bit slower than expected because a lot of folks want access to the database. Everybody kind of jumped in at the same time. and we had to restore login credentials. So that was part of the upgrade, is that all that stuff gets wiped out, so we had to restore all the credentials so that folks would have access to the database. When they would fail, they would try again, and it just puts them on a queue, which kept on going. So we had to put a stop to it, restore everything, and then bring it back up again. So the database is now released, and you can start adding more radios. So now the long haul is we have to go to every dispatch center that's attached to the system and upgrade every operator position. What that involves is the computers that serve for the operator position, we have to upgrade them to the latest and greatest operating system. So Windows 10, 10 dot whatever it is right now, but that's part of the process. And once the operating system is upgraded, then the application software gets downloaded as well. So we do that one position at a time, and it takes about 3 hours to do one computer. So it's a slow and painful process, which we have already started with Des Moines DPS yesterday, and we expect to be done by the end of today. That includes network management, terminals, and logger interface computers as well. So we're doing that, again, not just DPS, but Westcom, Woodbury, Dallas, Harrison, anybody who has connection to the core basically has to go through this process as well. Then the other piece is, another component to this is a separate box that has to be updated as well, which is the alarm monitoring equipment. So that's sort of a system that's on the side of the system, if you will. So once we upgraded the communication system itself, then we have to go in and just refresh the software in the alarm monitoring system, which is a box at every site as well. This is different than a system release. It's just software that we want to make sure that every piece of software is up to date, in addition to the Motorola product itself. So what remains? The two sites, Hardin, which is an operational site, we're working with the city to finish up the landscaping plan for that particular site. Hopefully by the time we're done, all the rain will have stopped and we'll be able to move quickly on that. And then the Rock Rapids site, which we have a preliminary approval for the placement. So we just have to conduct a site walk up there. So make sure everybody knows where we can walk, where we can't walk, and the safety procedures and all that stuff. We have to restart the coverage testing. And then we have to obviously complete every dispatch position upgrade for the dispatch centers that are attached to the core. So that's the process that we already started. We just have to finish it. Another piece of this is we want to finish also is we want to refresh every backhaul node. A couple of weeks ago, we did the primary nodes, which are the 3 core locations. So now it's the same deal. We got to push software to the MPLS router that sits at the site and then reset it. Again, it's a process that's separate, but we're going to be doing that so that we can complete and we can say that every piece of hardware that's in ISICS will have the latest and greatest software in it. We have to complete the remaining generator startups. So we're about 25% right now, so we have to do the remaining 75% of the generators throughout the state. And then we have to complete the onboarding process. The onboarding process is where the customer support manager works with our techs and different entities to confirm what happens every time an alarm is triggered. So at a site, what do you want us to do when the fire alarm triggers? What do you want us to do when the door is open? What do you want us to do when the LP tank is low? What do you want us to do when there's a failure with the UPS or the battery is low or the generator didn't start up? All these different things, it goes down to a list per site because every site can be different, right? You can have, you might want to dispatch a deputy sheriff in one location, but a state patrol in a different location. So every site will have different needs, so we want to make sure that we cover those. So that's part of the onboarding process. And then we have to execute the acceptance test plan, which is very similar to the testing that we did when we staged the system in Chicago, which is, can you do talk groups? Can you do multi-talk groups? Can you patch calls together? Can you do wide area, short range, fail-soft, site trunking, you know, all these different modes that you get to try out. Simulate a failure of the core, have it switch over, which we kind of tested by accident. You know, all those kinds of things so that we can go down to basically a huge checklist that, yep, we tested that, we tested that, we tested that. That's all I had. Any questions?